now beaming into NerdFT Radio.
This is NerdFT Radio, where nerds full-time, explorers of the metaverse, surfers of the blockchain, and not in our mom's basement. I'm your host, RSG, a.k.a. The Misser, and I'm here with Crypto Crier, a.k.a. the Pepe Vacay Crier.
That's right, baby.
And we have a very special guest. We have Josh, the head of business development at Cathedral Studios, joining us to talk a little bit about a game I am petrified of playing, which Crier absolutely loves, which is the Bornless. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm looking forward to this one.
This is fun. We met in East Denver. It's what was it? How long ago was that? Like a month ago, 2 months ago? 2 months. It's been a while.
It's tough to keep track of all the events. I had to take a break.
7 years.
It's been a long time, but so we went to East Denver. There was quite a few games there, a ton of games, I thought, comparatively to the previous times. Usually the games are pretty small, right? You don't get a lot of mention on them. NFTs are all small, so it doesn't get a lot of traction. I felt like there was a lot of games there. I played probably about, 25, 30 games, and you guys had the best game. So I want to get you guys on. It was super fun. I played this game all the time on Steam called Hunt, and it gave me a lot of Hunt vibes. I loved it. It's the whole idea of a little bit of the horror aspect. Again, I'm not a big horror fan either. Just RSG says here, I was like petrified of Resident Evil back when I was a kid. Like, not my forte, but I don't know, the competitive aspect really just changes it for me. Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about it and what you guys are building.
Yeah, man. Definitely, yeah. It's cool that you mentioned that because we are very much a horror-themed game, but we haven't lost sight of the core focus of the FPS genre either for us. So that's really important that we maintain that. A bit of competitive integrity. We like to say we're not totally building the game to be like esports, competitive only kind of thing. We really want to cater towards like the mid-core players, and we still want to capitalize on some of the horror theming as well too. We do that now in the current game mode through the environments, through the demons, and we don't utilize jump scares and stuff like that, but it's more so about the ambience of the game, right? So it's a twist on on an underserved genre right now, which is horror, and that's one thing we knew we could capitalize on because we got some amazing character artists that make some crazy cool demons and monsters and characters, and it's just a really fun multiplayer experience at the end of the day with some really cool horror stuff.
So let me ask you really quick. So there's no jump scares. Can you confirm that?
I can confirm that in the multiplayer modes. I will not confirm that for the single player modes.
I'm down. I'm so down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For you.
Again, I don't like it at all. Hunt was, my friend was like, dude, you gotta play Hunt. It's so much fun. I'm like, dude, this looks scary. I'm not gonna play it. I don't like that. I don't want to be scared. I want to be like competitive. And again, like as soon as I put 600 hours into that game or some crazy shit. Like we used to play it all the time.
That's great.
In October, really quick. In October, I played Warzone all the time. Call of Duty since Call of Duty like 2, the whole everything like that. Every October for the last 2-3 years, they've done like a Halloween edition of Warzone, and when you open a chest, it just jump scares. I'm glad if you can put this into scale from 1 to very scared. I'm literally at very scared where I don't play Warzone for the whole month of October because I know I'm going to shit my pants playing it and accidentally opening the wrong chest. So just put that in perspective.
Yep, no, that's a fair point. I'm a big FPS, kind of traditional FPS player myself too, but the horror stuff, what we do have in the multiplayer is really tense moments, and that's something we really like to capitalize on, but not so much that I'm scared of this moment. It's more so tense gameplay through
100%.
Maybe your teammate's down, and it's a 1v2, you got the demon hunting you, but you got to try to clutch this 1v2 at the point, awesome. So it's like, we want to build those tense moments while just having the horror atmosphere.
And that's why I liked it so much too. Again, it was like it was like a LAN party almost essentially. We had, I think it was like 10 of us, right? I think it's eight people.
Eight people we have.
So we had 8 people at the East Denver booth. They had a couple. I actually got to partner. I can't remember which guy it was, but the redheaded guy. I think it was Brandon or Brendan.
Brenton. Yeah, Brenton. He's our head of game.
We got in there, got a little dirty on it. I remember killing you, and you looking over and being like, "What's up, man?"
You did. I actually vividly remember you killing me. To be honest with you,
there you go.
He was coming in hot, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this motherfucker here." But yeah, no, it was very intense. It was like, and then all of a sudden, you're just getting hit in the back by some like monster, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta run!" Like someone else is shooting me. No, I did. It was fucking awesome. What are some of the again, this is kind of like a NFT experience with Web3 enabled. What kind of aspects to that are you bringing to the table for your game?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So right now, it's worth saying we've been very much building as a Web 2 to 2.5 kind of centric game early on in development. And just to give you some pretext to like my answer here, our goal with Web 3 that we believe actually, fundamentally as well, is introducing Web 3 elements over time as we continue to onboard players and traditionally taking a big Web 2 marketing approach, bringing players in, having Web 3 available at the time, but slowly implementing it more and more as we go. Because we think what we've noticed exactly early on, we've seen a lot of these kind of Web3 models just come in so hot and heavy with, hey, you got to hold this to play the game. You got to connect your wallet here. And people are just like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. So we're taking a very Web2 centric approach with our game. But that was just a pretext. But what we do have is one thing we know we're going to capitalize on is building a really cool, robust skin economy and cosmetic economy. For us, NFTs and cosmetics marry really well. So that for us is a given. And what we accomplished that with a really cool crafting system. So you didn't see this in the version you played, but what we'll have as you were going around and picking up those chests, and right now we just had the incense coming out. Eventually we're going to have materials coming out of these chests as well, that whether it be, for argument's sake, let's just say wood, metal, and diamond. Those not necessarily might be it, but and what you do is if you win the match, you take these resources back out to your safe house with you, and that'll tie into a really kind of dynamic crafting system we're building out. That includes like cosmetics, weapon skins. We have really cool these masks that are like cultist looking that you can customize, and so that all those assets that we create will operate as NFTs. And basically, the game flow early on is these materials and resources will start off as Web 2, just for the sake of being able to onboard Steam players and this and that. And after that point of crafting that asset is when you start to hit Web 3. So now you have this weapon skin. This is an NFT asset that you own.
No
you
different than CSGO skin. Mask. It's just now you can just transfer
exactly.
it.
So basically, it's the same. It's the same to CSGO up until the point of opening that skin, and at that point, now you have that NFT that you can mint, trade, and then we'll facilitate this really cool sort of Web3 marketplace with those assets and those cosmetics. And over time, we want to introduce more and more. As far as the token side of it as well, we took the approach of not launching a token 10 months before we had a game, like basically every other game did. We believe, again, the same thing, introducing an economy, building an economy, and actually bringing players into it first. And then slowly, if we see a token fit, then we can introduce it. For us, we're taking very much like leaning towards the Web 2 side.
It's just
very much believe in the Web3
integrate
tech.
All of them at a later date when it's actually a polished
game
and actually works. And
exactly. Yeah. And to this point, we feel pretty confident as how polished we are. We think we're about 2 years in now. We're actually in the middle of doing our Unreal 5 port. I know last time you played, actually the game is wildly different.
We played on those like really shitty laptops.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible.
The graphics were like
we got to give you another shot. Yeah.
And even with that, so like realistically, I got really bad graphics, bad gameplay because I was playing on a piece of shit computer, like like an Intel graphics HD card or some crap.
Integrated graphics, yeah.
I actually downloaded on my computer. I haven't jumped in yet. I've been waiting to get some other people to join us. But no, I definitely think Unreal 5, that'll definitely give it, the atmosphere of it was so cool. Like I think the Unreal 5 2 will make it even more, it might be a little bit too much for our issue now with the Unreal 5.
It's beautiful. What we have now in the live build is actually, even that's 2 months old. So the one you played is actually pretty close to what's public. We're just doing some final bug tests for our next update, which should be going in the next like 1 to 2 weeks. Unreal Engine 5 port is hoping to get into that, but we've redone all the lighting systems. We've polished a bunch of the map. There's a whole bunch of new features now. We have a flashlight in the game that you can toggle on and off. We have a ping system like in Hunt. You can ping locations for your teammates. There's loads of stuff I'm not even thinking of at the moment that we have being pushed in the next couple of weeks, which is great.
That's kind of one aspect I wanted to ask about too, because I really like the map. And I think that is a really integral part. That's why I liked Hunt a lot, because it was we had 5 almost like ecosystems on one single map to fight. And you can fight over here in the boxes area, or you can go over here and it's all wooded, or at the sawmill, it's all water and you have to walk really slow and loud. What are some of the things that you guys are working on? Because I think that makes a huge difference in just a multiplayer competitive CSGO. It's been around forever because the maps have like great angles and great competitiveness.
Exactly. Yep, I would definitely say map design is one of the very strong points of the studio. Our head of game, first of all, Branton, that you met, his strong suit is actually level design. His background is a lot of that. And we actually, we're very much a combination. We don't tout ourselves as this AAA studio, but we have a good combination of indie, AA, and AAA talent. And a bunch of our AAA talent, or a couple of guys, come from the Far Cry series, actually. So that they're our map design team, the level design team, which is fantastic. That level took a lot of work. And as far as some stuff we have coming up, we do have actually 2 or 3 game modes in the pipeline that are all going to have different kind of unique maps. One of them I can hint at a little bit, sort of like this kind of temple-based map. It's this dark setting again, as usual, with this temple in the center. And what the players do on this map is very different than the current game mode, I will say. And then we also are working on a really unique sort of horde mode. I say horde mode just to generalize it, but it's quite different than like zombies, for example. It'll have some familiar like aspects with perks and things you can pick up and buffs and stuff like that. But the approach we've taken on the level design specifically and how the horde works is a bit different. So that one's a bit further out that we're working on because we have a little more work in that one to do. And then single player as well. We have a really cool environment being built out for our single player. It's going to be a chapter based series, so we're just going to release one chapter at a time. It'll probably be like an hour-long experience, maybe give or take, depending on how deep into it you get. And then every season we'll release new chapters with single player for the player to jump in and experience.
Love that idea.
Awesome. Hey, really quick, I will say you intrigued me there with the zombies. I'm a massive zombie fan. Left 4 Dead, Zombie Island, or was it Dead Island? Excuse me, Dead Island. By the way, that just came out. I heard it was not that bad, the second one. But I did have a question. So what's going on our side, more on my side, when I think about NFTs, when I think about the blockchain and all these, I don't like to say false promises, but false promises of all these PFP projects and all these gaming Web3 projects. Why are they having such a hard time creating a game like pretty much what you guys already have? Why is the competition so leveled down when we were expecting so much more? Is it harder because it's about that integration with blockchain, or are we just not understanding that it takes years and hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to create these world-class games?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And that's to hit both aspects of that question. One is, I like to tell this to people, we haven't even been through one game development cycle in Web3 yet, because if you think about AAA games, they traditionally will take anywhere from 2 to 5 years, depending on the complexity of it. And Web3 gaming has been big now for 3 years tops. It's been around a bit longer than that, but like it's been mainstream for, let's say, 3 years, best case scenario. And most AAA games haven't had a chance to develop a full game in that time. If you think about how long it's going to take, I'm not going to use Call of Duty because they just rehash the same content every year, but other games that like when Call of Duty first moved to Warzone, yeah, exactly. It's a reskin, right? These games take time. And then you factor in this blockchain element as well. And we saw in Gen, everyone was trying these kind of crazy play to earn economies where you can earn thousands of dollars playing the game for a week and this and that. And we learned quickly that wasn't going to work. That's just not sustainable. And as a model, it's not that's flawed. It's just that this is like a deeper discussion I have with a lot of people. It's play to earn can work, but you can't, like the developers, they set the monetary policy, right? They're the Federal Reserve. And if they're setting it to the point where this guy can come in and make $500 a week when there's only 100 players playing the game and participating in this economy, it's not going to work, right? We know that. These things can work if you have 500,000, a million players. You can start to introduce some cool elements like this, but we're far too early to be able to really create really good sustainable models. And I think a lot of games have placed the focus too much on that 100%. As opposed to creating the game itself. And we did literally the exact polar opposite. All of our competition, they have tokens out already. They have games that are starting to be developed now. We have the game almost ready, and then we'll figure that stuff out. But then we'll launch the token. Then we'll have the NFT integrations and all that. It's, to your point, a lot of false promises for that reason, because a lot of them don't realize that when they get into game development, when they do all this stuff first and they make these promises, game development's hard. I'll tell you that straight out. It's not easy, right? So it takes time. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of money in a lot of cases. I think once they get into the weeds, and we're seeing that now because we're about, 18 months past like peak bull. And most companies that raise that for a 12 to 24 month burn rate, we're starting to see these guys run out of money, right? That's what's happening now. And we're going to see more and more of that until they get, and raising funds is not easy in this market, which we know. So it's a multifaceted problem.
Like the fire hose maybe a year and a half ago, and now it's the trickle.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Great point you brought up too. We have all these economies that pretty much have failed. People don't really, they get in there, get FOMO'd, get out, and now the game is stale, or you don't keep that idea fresh. I love the idea of the season model, because one of my favorite thing about all of these things is if you're making a Web3 game, especially with a token, usually your business model is different than they used to be. Usually it's going to be a free-to-play game, and there's going to be token integrations, and then you're buying assets to play the game. And as a company, you make money off the volume. What is like your idea on that at that side? More so just you're already funded. Is that kind of the model where we're just going to make a good game? That's it? Or is it going to be something where you're looking for these types of monetization aspects?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So to your point, our business models have to be different in Web3,
100%.
right? Because we can't monetize the same way the Web2 studios do. And then that makes it really challenging for us. This goes back to your point as well about why aren't they making good games, is it's actually tough to sustain as a studio with some of these models that we've seen. But that's where we identified, to your point, the season pass model is like a perfect alignment with NFTs, because with NFTs, it's okay. We know, and that's like a Counter-Strike, I guess, from a Web2 perspective. They do the same thing in the sense where they have case releases that are 3 months, but then you can't get those cases anymore, right? So then the value gets driven up. They basically created an NFT economy without creating an NFT economy, essentially. So what we identified is we can still maintain great sort of supply-demand dynamics with NFTs through seasonal-based collectible limited time editions, basically. So within this 3-month period, you can get this content. Within that 3-month period for season 2, you'll have separate content. That way, season 1 people, it's not like you're not just rehashing the same content over and over again. So it gives value to the older players' assets, but also brings in new ones as well. And we can sell, for us anyways, the business model. Season passes are a big part of that. So we know traditionally, like in Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, all these games, we know that's a prevalent model right now. We can apply that to our Web3 model as well, where someone comes in and gets that season pass for $7-8 cheap. And they'll get that single player chapter for the season. They'll get a pack of the assets for that part of the season. They'll get a whole bunch of different things basically that they can get access to with the season pass. So that's one core part of our model. And the second comes into, which we didn't really talk about, the other half of like our NFT model, which is split Web 2 and Web 3 as well, is our land. So our safe houses. We're building a really robust social economy and faction system within our game. So our safe houses, you can picture them as like traditional player housing for your guild or your faction if you guys played like MMOs back in the day.
Reminds me of Tarkov. I think we had talked about this at East Denver.
I think Tarkov, they have hideouts, I believe. I didn't play a ton of Tarkov, only when it first came out. But essentially, let's say you have...
You're able to extract and you're able to
players.
win, you get the items, and then you're able to build it up.
Exactly, yeah. So you go back to your safe house with your faction, and you'll be able to actually really upgrade and customize this thing to an extensive point, basically, where you can add different furnishings, collectibles. We'll have all our crafting will be done in there. Eventually, we want to introduce faction-based like blueprints that they can all collaborate towards and build really cool shit, furniture, and you can actually expand the safe house itself as well. So you'll start off, and we have our free-to-play one already built. It's like this little log cabin. Has like a couple of rooms in an attic. And to make it out, you have to unlock different sections as you progress through and open up different sections of the house. And then what we'll have is we have different collectible safe houses as well. A couple already built. We have this kind of cool Bat Cave sewer system that you can, reminds me like a Ninja Turtle or something. And then we're also building some really cool rare like castles, Victorian mansions kind of stuff. All stuff that fits in like the 1950s theme. And these safe houses all come with different unique abilities and perks too for the collectible NFT ones. So some of them will have access to certain resources that they'll be able to have and use for crafting or trading, whatever. So we're really looking to build a kind of robust social economy as well within the game. And doing that with this safe house system is the way for us.
Very cool. We also talked about, there's a lot of games that we saw at East Denver. I think it was a shorter guy, but he kept saying these are all assets of free or asset packs.
Yes.
What kind of ideas we got going on here for that side of it? We got a lot of...
Yeah. That's a conversation. So Branton, the one you met, our head of game, he loves talking about this because, and I'm a victim of this as well. For my early Web3 investing days when I first came in, before I started actually working, and you get fooled by these asset packs, right? You think like they show you this trailer, they show you this game, they show you the visuals. And it's funny, and I talk to my head of game now, Branton, and he'll say, oh yeah, I know that asset pack. You can buy this on the asset store. Oh, I know that one too. They just bought these and loaded them into the game. There's no real work done here. And for us, it's so different. We built a studio in-house. We don't outsource anything. We have 3 or 4 character artists that come through. They make all of our weapons. They're making all of our monsters. They're making our characters. We use asset packs for some placeholders for now, because obviously we're an alpha game. We have a long way to go. But we don't like any like kind of unique stuff, especially NFTs, God forbid, using anything from the asset store. But we see it all the time. He was sitting there picking out the games at East Denver saying, oh yeah, I recognize this asset pack. This one is a whole game mode. You can just download and install and the whole game is done.
Yeah, I
think it's crazy what's out there.
Or something like that. Can't remember which one it was, but yeah, it was straight up like Dark Soul Rip and terrible.
Exactly.
One of the thing I thought was really cool that you guys were working on too was the AI generated skins for Mutable X minting. Do you want to cover that a little bit?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So we built it. It's in prototype right now, and this is going to tie into the material resource system we talked about. Essentially, what we built is an integration with OpenAI, which is DALL-E, the AI image generator, and we integrated that right into the game with our weapon system. And essentially what we can do, you can go in, and this isn't how it's going to be implemented in the game, but you can go and type in whatever you want, and we masked off the weapon in a way that it actually applies it right directly as a skin. And then that weapon will then be able to be minted right to blockchain. Right now it's working on testnet, not live, obviously. So that's the prototype pretty much in its basic form. It's pretty much an AI GC system. The long-term plans for, and this is like probably something we're going to start development on, and then now for another 6 months or so, is to really become the hub for horror in Web3. So this is where we start to lean into creating our UGC tooling and allow users use our assets. They'll be able to bring assets in from other games. We're already talking with a couple to do some cool things with, and they'll be able to actually create their own horror experiences using these assets, our tooling, some presets that we can give them. And then they'll be able to actually sell these assets on a store or marketplace we're going to build, similar to the skin economy. And really the long-term goal of this is to be the hub for horror in Web3. So if you want to create a horror experience, you want to monetize it, you're a developer, or you just want to mess around with some assets, create a cool little game mode. We'll give you some of our monsters. You can bring your Deadfellas NFT, and we'll have a bit of a process. We're actually, this is low-key, we're talking with a really big...
I got 8 of those.
We're talking with a really big Web2 UGC company right now to sort some of this out. But the idea is that you'll be able to bring some of that stuff in and load it into the game, and then you can do Deadfellas versus Orbis, our demon, and do a little game mode or something like that. And if it's good, you can actually sell on this marketplace, similar to Roblox, for example. So we will essentially take the Roblox model, but focus strictly on the niche that we're in, which is horror, and dominate that, which we know is underserved and potentially massive.
Let me ask you, Josh, on the sense of when you talk about that you're talking with these massive Web2 companies and you're partnered with some of them as well, you can go ahead and just check on the website. When you look at it, you're like, oh, Amazon, oh, all these other things. When you talk to these other companies that are in Web2, what's the scale of interest
temperature
in
on
Web3?
these guys?
Yeah, what's that temperature? Are they seeing it as an opportunity to disrupt gaming as a whole, or is it just something that they'd throw like a rock into it to see maybe it does something, maybe it doesn't?
Might do a little
Let's just try it out. So what's that take when you
Right.
talk with them? Are they excited, or is it more the sense of they send 1 or 2 people, hey, just figure it out to see if it's something?
Yep, no, totally. So that's depending on which ones we talk to. And I'll preface this too, because I always get skeptical when I see something like AWS or Microsoft listed on the website. And it's because they use AWS servers, they have them listed. With us, it is a bit different. We actually work with them on a regular basis. So partially with their AI team, which is not the Web3 centric team, but we also are working with some of their NDA products, which people have already been leaking out over the past few months. And I can tell you them in particular, they're going to be diving in heavy for sure. And I like really heavy. Some of the others, like we talked to, NVIDIA is very big on, NVIDIA is big on the metaverse, not specifically like Web3 gaming in general, but NVIDIA obviously being a massive AI company and all of that stuff. The metaverse is really attractive to them. So I get invited all the time because we're in their startup program and have like every week they have some kind of cool different like webinar going on about the metaverse, some AI content in the metaverse. It's pretty cool. So they're not as heavy just into Web3 gaming specifically, but they definitely see the power in these virtual worlds, and Web3s are powering a lot of these metaverses, so it goes hand in hand. And that's pretty much right now in the bear market. It's been tough because you could definitely tell some of them have had to maintain this kind of neutral temperature, so to speak, because if they go too heavy right now, they get wrecked.
People.
Exactly. Yeah. So they've been pretty neutral recently. And I think for a lot of them, it is like something on the back burner because obviously like Amazon's a great example. They make shitloads of money doing what they do, right? So for them, this is experimental, but they also see opportunity there. And that's why it's still very much in their pipeline. But I can tell you, there's a few companies going very deep into it for sure. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Razer is a great example. They just launched a Web3 fund.
We talked
about that.
There you go.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing we talked about was Crier.
We're current with our news, my friend.
Yeah, a little bit. This is where you should get your news. The other thing that you did mention on the Amazon side, obviously there's been rumors circling around the World Wide Web, that they are trying to do something with NFTs at like a marketplace. So if things align correctly, maybe Amazon comes and saves our PFP bags and hypothetically could then not save Web3 gaming, but just allow it to be explored a lot more when companies like an Amazon or a Microsoft or an Apple like dive into it. Speaking of Apple, I'm not a big Apple guy on the computer wise, but like you guys, like you just said, see you later, Mac. Like you just didn't want to.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of it comes down to the developing on Macs. The way, so I don't know this firsthand, but this goes from our developers. Apparently, some new chipset that the Macs use are just a pain in the ass to work with.
Just like the Apple.
And to be able to optimize for it. So it's like, we're just staying away for now.
They're not using Intel anymore.
We'll probably
They're
port to
using their own
console
chip,
before we hit Mac.
proprietary chip, so it's a fucking pain in the ass.
Exactly.
As you
exactly.
can-
Yeah. It's
As
rough.
you can tell, Cryer's not
You're
a big
outnumbered
Apple
here
guy.
on this
yeah,
one,
he's
buddy.
not the iPhone. That's fine, but
Are you an
Never
Android
been
or
a big-
an iPhone, Josh?
I'm an Android guy.
That's what I'm
no.
talking
How
about.
am I the
I'm an Android guy. I'm
minority
sorry.
right now?
Yeah.
This
Because-
is ridiculous.
Because we're true gamers. We fucking know.
I
Get out of here.
Yep.
get
My wife has the iPhone, and I make fun of her every day. I can't even use it. It just feels so
Yeah, it's so
unintuitive.
clunky.
So the one thing I tell people, I can't do without a back button or a home button. And her back button is like all the way at the top left, and I'm like, what is? It just feels weird to me. I'm not used to it, so I stick with my
wild.
Android.
All right, it is what it is. All right.
I knew that was coming.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, I
don't
definitely
know.
knew that was coming.
All right. Josh, let me ask you on the sense of all these other games that you have seen. Again, you guys were at ETH
That's a good
Denver. You
question.
played some of those. What other games are
shit on
you
'em.
personally? We're not going to talk shit about them. What other games, not just in ETH Denver, overall in the Web3 space?
Yeah,
What
you're
other
excited about.
games have you looked at that you're actually excited for, or you're like, oh crap, this could be something not that can compete with us, but more the sense share a part of the space when it comes to Web3 gaming?
Yep. No. So for me, as much time as I get to spend, usually in my free time, and I say this too, it's funny. I play like Web 2 games in my
Oh, me
spare
too.
time.
We
No
do.
Web3
We
games
both
is
do.
enough for me.
Yeah.
But okay. But so the ones I'm looking out for is some of the ones we're actually talking with that I think is super cool. Obviously, Shrapnel. I have high hopes for them. I did play at GDC. I did play their demo, so they're making some cool progress.
Okay.
I think they're going to be a big one. Obviously, I do. Obviously, Dead Drop.
Dead Drop
Everyone's
looks
for us. For us, regardless of like how you feel about Dead Drop as a game,
It gets eyes on.
the doc has the world NFT world is on his shoulders right now,
I definitely
and he
agree.
can definitely sway in a lot of different directions.
And just the way he's
that one's
the way
obviously
he's
one to watch
doing
out
it,
for.
or just like the way he's like presenting it it sounds awesome. Like it's $100,000
It does.
item,
It does. It
or
sounds-
it's a $20,000 item that this person
Right.
just extract. That adds a ton of suspense or
The intensity on that, the suspense, it's wild.
Exactly.
Yeah, so those two obviously in the FPS genre for me are what I'm looking at. I just started following Wild
Okay, yeah, we
Card
just
recently.
interviewed
They
them.
look really cool.
You
That's
definitely
a
check out our
super
interview with them.
polished game.
It was awesome.
Yeah, they're great. So I just started following them a couple of weeks ago when I heard about them, and I really like what I see over there on those guys. That looks fantastic. And then the one another one I played at GDC just to kind of test out is Project Illune was pretty cool.
Illuvium?
Project Illune. is the name of it.
ELUNE.
That-
Okay, yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah, exactly. It was pretty cool. It's
like
it was
an MMO,
different.
right?
And yeah, it was like an arena battler. The version they had, the game mode they had playable anyways. I know they have a lot more planned, and then I'm not a big tabletop card guy anymore. I used to play a ton of Magic back in my day, but there's Across the Ages looks pretty cool. And I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But
Parallel, we also did there. They were really cool.
Parallel was the other one. Yeah. Oh, and Rainy Games I've been hearing a lot about. I haven't had a chance to check that one out yet, but people are talking about them a lot.
Yeah, so ones out of those, I got to look up Shrapnel and Rainy Games. I haven't heard those two, but everything else, I agree with.
Shrapnel's big. Yeah, Shrapnel's going to be a big one. I think they have a really polished AAA team.
What style of game is it?
They're making basically Tarkov in
cool.
Web3 essentially. So it's an extraction shooter similar to Dead Drop, but obviously Dead Drop's going like this vertical shooter. Shrapnel's
Just like
more traditional
Tarkov,
extraction
cool.
shooter. Yeah, a little more I think sci-fi than Tarkov, but yeah, same kind of theming, which is and for us obviously we're going for horror. So out of the FPSs, Dead Drop, Shrapnel, and us is who I'd probably put top 3.
I like
Okay.
that.
Hey, Cryer, listen, that was a great answer. Not only did we get like 1 or 2, we got 6. So
Now we got to follow up. Now we got to get all these people
it's
on our
good.
show here. Let's go.
100%. But it's really good to hear that, again, on your side, because when we talked about it a little bit before, some of these games that were promised, some of these videos that we saw, some of these things just overall that we saw, it didn't come into fruition. It's not happening, or it's still 20, 30 years away, and people are realizing, oh crap, it takes a lot of time and effort and money to make these games. So for you to go out there and be like, hey, there are others and you need to be aware of them, that's definitely something for us. Cryer, you and I, we've had the fortunate opportunity of testing some of those games out, as well as streaming them and getting these individuals on the podcast so that we can hopefully bridge that nerd, that Web 2 nerd that we both, all three of us are, into this Web 3 fandom that, again, all three of us are. So it literally just aligns directly towards one another when you think of all the incredible things that we did growing up with all these video games and what NFTs and the blockchain can provide those games and these assets that we've been collecting for the past 20, 25 years. So I'm super excited, and it's awesome just to hear that there are other games that are piquing your interest, and you guys are ready to rock and roll.
Takes time, man. Just like how we did, we talked with Bettner. He's the CEO of Wildcard. They've been making that for
Wild card,
6 years,
yeah.
and that wasn't even planned to be with NFTs, and it just happens to be integrated really well because it is like a card battler, right? Like NFTs, there isn't a better genre than tabletop cards than NFTs.
I totally
like,
agree.
The tradability, there's so many aspects of that make it like the best possible one. Like skins are like, all right, we get skins. Yeah, you can trade them. Perfect.
Yep.
But I have my entire card collection here with me on my phone. Let's fucking go. That's fucking sick.
Exactly.
But he did a great job, and he was saying the same things. Like he's super skeptical about what that can actually accomplish. Transactions are still super low. We're still in these phases of building, and it's going to be another 5 years before these things like, actually.
Yeah, we say that now. We don't want mass users yet. It's exactly. But it's really cool because what we've done is we built this really fun, organic grassroots community that we can build with. And I was talking to the Shrapnel guys about this actually, and they'll tell you, anyone that's been in game development for this long will tell you, we don't show games this early ever in traditional gaming. That just doesn't happen. What people see in Web3, which is why I get such a bad rep, they're like, oh, this game looks like shit. Normally, games don't show this early. But at the same time, and I tell people all this all the time, I've been a gamer a lot longer than I've been a Web3 nerd. And I've been a Web3 a long time, but I've been a gamer a lot longer, so I will not compromise on what I want to see in gaming. And Web3 for me is still secondary. Always. So that's the way I feel.
That. Hey, that's why we're still playing those Web 2 games in that free time, because it's just next level. It's next level compared to what we have. But the future is bright, and hopefully we can get it. But Josh, let me ask you, for you guys, any brand new like upcoming things that you guys are looking forward to over on the Bornless side?
Yeah, definitely. So the big one for us is obviously this update coming out in a couple of weeks with this big Unreal Engine 5 port. The game is looking absolutely gorgeous in our development build right now. One kind of thing we haven't teased too much yet, we do have a very kind of minor version of bots in the game as well for those that can't fill lobbies. Just to go through and have some fun in the game without having that real competitive
That's what I did. Like I downloaded on my computer and then I'm like, oh, I can only play during these times. Yeah. Like, shit. Like I wanted to fire up with my friend.
So we'll do that. That's the next step for us to hopefully get some people to have some fun with it. And then the last thing is definitely be on the lookout on the Epic Games storefront. We should have a coming soon page up the next couple of weeks, which would be sick. We did get accepted with as one of the first 20 Web3 games, whatever the article said. We're one of them, which is great. Awesome. So we'll be on there soon.
That's awesome. Josh, thank you so much for stopping by. More than welcome to come by. Maybe one of these days, Crier, we can do like a little stream, and I'll make it a thing where I won't get I'm going to try the single player, and I want to see some jump scares, and we're going to just stream it, Cry. And we're going to see how it goes. Do I sleep for the next 3 days? Who knows? Nope. Will it be good content? Probably, but we'll go ahead and see it on that side. But super excited. Thank you so much for stopping by. Before we leave though, Crier, I got to mention some nerd stuff like we always do on our episodes. Have you, Crier, seen the latest trailer for the Flash movie?
I've not. No, I don't think so. Did it just come out or no?
Yes.
I saw the previous one. You're the nerd. You're the karmic nerd. Look at your room.
Yeah.
I see the Avengers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was about to hit the other side of Marvel that I can just tell you that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming up in literally a week and 1 day. So 8 days. And they just showed a little clip of like when Rocket finally just named himself Rocket and he had his friends. I probably have to bring tissues to this movie because I'm going to be sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. But super awesome movies coming out very soon, so I'm super excited. And on the other side of shows, I can't talk Mandalorian with you, and I can't talk like Star Wars with you, so I can't talk how excited I am to see my boy Thrawn in live action, but it is what it is. But like I said, Josh, thank you so much for stopping by. For everyone listening at home, thank you guys for tuning into another episode. We'll catch you next week with another episode of NerdFT Radio. Have a good day, have a good weekend, and keep building in Web3. Let's go with that one.
Let's do it.
Still not going to end that show on that one. All right, peace.
Appreciate you guys.